funding in the form of UGC scholarship or some other fellowship, or you spend from your own pocket. Don't do research if you are just going to regurgitate what has already been done. That is not research. Research is not review and summary of existing secondary material. You must be able to go at least a step further than just reviewing and summarizing the secondary sources. So please understand that it's very important in research to engage with the primary text, to engage with the primary sources. Now I move on to asking the question, why do we need literature review? One of the other, at the opposite end, another kind of, if one end is someone who has read only secondary material on a particular area, at the other end are students who come to us, who have this spark, who have this idea to work on a particular topic, and they think no one else has done this work before them. So they think that they are the ones who are getting this original idea all by themselves. So I kind of puncture their enthusiasm a little by telling them, you are not Columbus, right? So you are not someone who is the first who has thought about it. Go back and read what others have written on this topic. So why do you need to then do literature review? So that you are not simply reinventing the wheel, doing something that already somebody has done even more successfully than you, right? So in that sense, don't reinvent the wheel. Go back to see what work has already happened in this area, whether it's worthwhile to even pursue further in this area, or if you feel, well, I still have a project on hand, this person has done some work, but then there is not enough that has been done, then we take it further. Otherwise, there is no point in reinventing the wheel. Yeah, can you unmute, please? Can you mute yourself, please? Somebody who is unmuted, can you please mute yourself?
Just a minute, then. I will unmute then. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Telling a suitable story about the relevant previous work also enables you to demonstrate how your current work is situated within a particular field or departs from earlier publications. So this literature review is an indication as to what is the work that has already happened in this field. Within this work that has already happened, where do you see your own work? How do you situate your own work? So all this work has happened so far. Somebody has done A, B, C, and D, but my project is E. So my project slightly differs from what all the others have done in this area so far. So it's important to situate your work. We call it locating the work or locating your thesis in terms of work that has already happened in your area, and how your work departs from earlier work. So you may do this by either disagreeing with whatever has been proposed earlier. Remember, I began by saying, so that is the purpose of research, not coming up with something once and for all, but to disagree, to show that, well, A has said this, whereas looking at the literature of Kannada women writers, I am finding something very different, right? So you may want to dispute or contradict some research that has already happened, or you may want to take further a particular theory that somebody has proposed or you may want to extend that theory to some other context and say, look, this is how it happens here in this particular context. A more subtle rationale comes from the fact that the story that you are telling, the literature through the literature review, shows others that you are a member of your chosen field. So this is like tracing your ancestry, tracing your predecessors, and announcing your pedigree, right? So I have read all this work. So this is the lineage that I trace for myself. So these are the people, who have come before me, whom I have read, and this is where I come. So obviously, you can't be looking at, shoddy or second-rate work when you're tracing your lineage. You have to read the best in your field, the best works that have come in your field, because it's an indication, it's a reflection of who you are as a researcher and how you trace your lineage of pedigree in this chosen area of study. Now I move to the last part of my research, of my presentation, which is, which concerns largely with the last stage in research, which is the stage of writing your dissertation. Now, how to write the review of literature, how to make the review of literature a part of the research document. While writing the literature review in a research document, the researcher will have to take a decision on whether it is, that is the literature review has to be in a separate chapter or a section. If it's a dissertation, whether it has to be in a separate chapter, or if it's a research paper that you're writing, whether it has to be in a separate section, or will it be integrated into the introductory chapter or introductory section. There is no hard and fast rule for this particular, placing of the literature review. I have seen dissertations, and I have myself guided dissertations where the literature review warranted a separate chapter. So this was such a complex research project. There were so many strands that the researcher had to trace, for situating his or her own study. So if it's an interdisciplinary project, you'll have to trace so many different strands coming from so many different disciplines and then situate your project. So it may warrant an entire chapter for writing the literature review. Sometimes, the literature review may be, in any dissertation, it is a bulky section. So it's not something that you finish, in a dissertation in 5 pages or 3 pages. It is one of the bulkiest sections. Even if it is part of the introductory chapter, it is one of the bulkiest sections of that introductory chapter. So sometimes, I tell my students, okay, you can, you need not have a separate chapter. You can include it as part of the dissertation. And often when it is included as part of the dissertation, I tell them, you have the review of literature section followed by your research question section, because that will show the path by which you have arrived at your research question. So I make them write the review of literature in such a way that they arrive at the research question through the review of literature. So that would be the purpose of having the review of literature in the introductory section, where by reading all these, this is what I felt was missing, what you call as the research gap, or this is what I felt contradicted to what my own readings are in this area. Yeah, can you please mute yourself? Okay. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
I
madam.
will continue. Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
madam.
continue then. So it could be, yeah. So it could be part of the introductory section, as I said, or it could be a separate section in itself. Now, what will the literature review generally have? What will it focus on? It will focus on some of these aspects. So each of these aspects could form separate sections within the review of literature section. It could have, I have some 3 or 4 under this section. You could have some of them, you could have 1 or 2 of them, but generally speaking, the literature review will have all these. So it could have a historical overview. So here, maybe you would want to give a history of, say, women writing in Kannada. You can go back as far as possible to trace this history, or it could give a kind of historiography of women's writing in Kannada. That is, reviewing histories of women writing. Those who have written histories of women writers, you could be reviewing their works. So it could be a historical or a historiographical overview of the field. Then you will be looking at current work. Now, it's very important to look at current work because this is cutting edge research. So if you are working on gender and women's writing in Kannada, you would want to look at the work of feminist and post-colonial scholars who have researched on, let's say, Kannada literature during the colonial period in general, and gender issues in women's writing. So in that sense, you might be looking at those feminist and post-colonial scholars who have worked on Kannada literature, or those who have looked specifically on gender issues in women's writing, in the area of women's writing. A third focus in the literature review would be a discussion on the theory or model that kind of structures or provides a framework for your study. So in the particular example that I am giving, you may be discussing theories or models, to resolve the issues that are proposed by you. Maybe a good starting point for someone who wants to work on gender and women's writing would be the theoretical model proposed by Partha Chatterjee in his essay, The Nationalist Resolution of the Women's Question, where he discusses the division between private and public, the role of women and the role of men in the colonial period. So you may look at theories and models too in this literature review section, those dominant theories which kind of underpin your work. Lastly, you could focus on issues. You could call attention to certain issues. For instance, you may say, well, this is how it has been proposed. That is, there was a resolution of the women's question with the rise of the nationalist discourse. But if I look at, Kannada literature, that does not seem to have happened. So you turn, so that's why I was saying, so you use this review of literature to shift the focus, to turn the focus to your own research, where you distinguish your work from all that has come so far. So you call attention to a particular issue which has not been studied, which is where your own research comes in or becomes relevant. Now, what should a literature review in a research document do? The preparation of a literature review is a 3-step process. One, of course, is finding the relevant literature and reading it. That goes in the earlier part where it's part of the process of research. So you have to find the secondary sources, you have to read them, and the next part is writing up the review. in the course of your research, you would have read maybe 150 or 180 books on this subject. Now, everything cannot and will not go into the review of literature. So you should decide what will go into the review of literature. So what should the literature review in the research document do? It should discuss the key problems or controversies or issues within your field. So A is saying this, whereas all these people see it somewhat differently. So what are the key issues? What are the key problems or debates within the field? So that is one important aspect that has to be included in the review of literature. Your literature review needs to explain clearly which potential areas for inclusion have not been.
ಯಾವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಅಟೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ತನಕ ಹಂಗಿರಬಾರ್ದು. ದಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫೈಡ್.
ಅದು ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟದ್ದು ಬರಿಬೇಕು ಸರ್.
ಸೊ
ನನಗಲ್ಲ, ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಆನ್ಸರ್
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನೀನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬೇಕು, ನೀನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು.
Request the host to mute the others. Please mute the others. I'm unable to speak. Yeah, can I go on? So the literature review needs to explain clearly which potential areas for inclusion have not been covered in the review. So as I was saying, you may be reading many things, but you will not be including everything in the review of literature, but you have to say why you have excluded some part or some portion that may have to be there, which should have been there as part of the review. If you have chosen to omit it, why is it that you have chosen to omit it? So you're not only accounting for what is there, but also accounting for what is not there. So what is the rationale for drawing the boundary for your review of literature in this fashion? Your literature review should focus on very recent publications because they are most likely to be most relevant. So which is why we keep asking you to take note whenever you read of the year of publication. So it's very important to know when a particular work was published. If there's something that has come after it, it's probably more important to look at what has come after it, and see what that has to say about the earlier work. Your literature review should also be as long as possible in order to persuade your reader or your examiner that you have read very widely. So as I said, it cannot be 3 or 5 pages in a research document. You have to be able to show your scholarship or your expertise in this particular area. Your review of literature should reveal the gaps in the existing body of research, and your literature review should critically evaluate each piece of work that you discuss. You're not just going to summarize the existing work. It should be a kind of critical review of each piece that you write about in the review of literature. Now, a very important aspect of writing the review of literature section, because it is so vast, it can become very unwieldy. So how to impose a particular kind of order or how to structure this review of literature section before as part of drafting it in your dissertation. You could organize your secondary sources for writing the review of literature in a chronological way. So this was what was said before and so on, you know. So you begin with the earliest work and then what have successive scholars had to say on this issue. So you could organize your literature review chronologically, or you could organize it in terms of place of origin of the work. So within Karnataka, in Kannada, this is what scholars are saying about, you know, women writings. But if you look at the scholars who write in English, you know, within India or abroad, this is what has been said about these women writers. So it could be about the place of origin of the research. The discipline the scholars represented, particularly if you're researching in an area like gender, which is quite an interdisciplinary area of studies. So you could organize your review of literature in terms of the various disciplines from which the scholars whom you are reviewing come from. That is, whether they come from literary studies, or they may be historians who have worked on this, sociologists, or those from women's studies or gender studies. You could organize your review of literature in terms of the discipline they come from. The scholars' attitude or perspective towards the women writing. So what is their attitude? What is their perspective or standpoint? You could organize the review of literature in terms of that, or in terms of the theoretical framework that each of their studies adopt. So what kind of framework do they operate with? Or it could be somewhat more mechanical in type, in terms of the type of publication, whether it's a book or an article. You could organize your review of literature. So you could organize, you could review all the books in the area first, and then come to the articles, or vice versa. Here are some possible openings to the discussion of gender in women's writing, the example that I am giving. So how do you begin the literature review section? So I'm giving you some possible examples of openings. According to my research, an early study on gender in women's writing in colonial period was published in 1980. So one of the first studies in this area came in 1980. So you start like that. Or many studies have examined the concept of gender and its relationship with women's writing. So you could start your literature review section with this kind of opening sentence. Or table 1 provides a listing of 27 studies on women's writing in Kannada during the colonial period, published between 1989 and 2007. So you give all this information in a tabular form and then discuss you know, more elaborately in the review of literature about these works. In recent times, another opening sentence could be like this. In recent times, Western scholars have evinced a great deal of interest in literature of the colonial period in various Indian languages. There are many Western scholars who work on Kannada literature or Telugu literature, Bengali literature. So like that, there are many scholars who have evinced interest, and you start with a review of those. Perspectives on the concept of gender vary depending on the field of study. So here you would want to review the literature discipline wise. There seems to be little consensus as to whether women's writing must be seen only through the prism of gender or classified according to other criteria such as race, class, caste, etc. So this could be another opening sentence of your review of literature if you are planning to bring in other studies which discuss the intersectionality of women's writing or intersectionality you know, of gender itself, along with all these other aspects. So literature review, you know, also of course has to take into account citation patterns. I have noticed in your invitation there is someone else who will talk more elaborately about this. So I will not focus on citation and referencing of literature review very, you know, in any very lengthy way. So you will have to decide on what information you should extract from your source. whether you want to directly quote from your source or paraphrase or summarize, how will you include that source in your literature review? It would be good practice not to just directly quote, 2 sentences, 3 sentences in every paragraph of your literature review, but to try and paraphrase and summarize from the source as much as possible. You will also need to decide which studies to discuss as a group and which to discuss alone. Sometimes you may want to discuss 4 or 5 studies together as a group in a particular paragraph. Sometimes you may want to discuss them differently. So when you discuss them, in a group, the citation pattern there will be slightly different from how you would if you were discussing it individually or separately. With regard to citation patterns, I think you all know whether you're following MLA or APA, so there are various style guides. Someone else, I'm sure, will talk about these in detail. These options, so which should I follow? So many times as researchers, we don't allow the researcher. If you are publishing it for a journal, the journal will give you the guidelines to follow. If you are writing a research document, then your discipline will determine which style guide you follow. Or in universities like ours, we prescribe that the MLA handbook should be followed. So one is not free to choose whatever kind of citation pattern one wants in such cases. Some final comments then about literature review, and I'll stop with these comments. Literature review is not something that is written once and for all. So it has to be drafted and redrafted at least 3 to 4 times, being modified each time to suit the overall thrust of the study. So I tell my students, after you write all your data chapters, go back to the introduction. If the introduction chapter is where the literature review is coming from, is going to be placed, then I tell them that chapter is what you write last. So once you know what the rest of the chapters will have, then go back to write the introductory chapter and the literature review in the light of how the rest of the dissertation has turned out. So even when you're doing that, in the end, you have to be ready to write it at least 3 to 4 times. Literature review will require you to demonstrate not only what you know, but also what you think about the work in your field. So it's important to have a stand or opinion, not just a kind of neutral summary, but you should also have some kind of a stance towards that work. In writing literature review, you will be constructing an original discussion in your own words. So this is not just taking something from somewhere and just putting it in some kind of form over there. So this is a story that you will be writing about your topic in your own words. So that is very important. You will shape literature review to fit your research questions, provide an idea of where you came from. So speaking in terms of the discipline or theory, so let's say I'm your examiner, I'm looking at your literature review, I should get an idea of where are you coming from? So which kind of disciplinary or theoretical background are you coming from? And where are you going in terms of the main argument that you are putting forth? So does the review of literature fit into what what you are tracing as your pedigree or ancestry in the discipline, and where you are going in terms of your thesis, in terms of the main argument that you are trying to put forth? You will also have to explain why certain sources are included or excluded. I mentioned that from the LR. You will describe the literature in an original manner so that the questions of plagiarism will not arise. So please pay attention to proper methods of citing and referencing, because there should be no ambiguity, and there should be no charge of plagiarism. Literature review is not about just replicating the words of other people. So it has to be made your own. So this is also a section that is independently written by you in the dissertation. I think I'll end with this. I think if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer, happy to take your questions. I hope you have followed the presentation, and most welcome to ask me questions that you may have. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much, madam. It was a really eye-opening session for every participant. You have taken us through from the research idea to the research report. It was really a wonderful and intellectual session. I'll take questions, madam, from participants. One of the participants has asked the question, that is, what is the recent trends in the English literature research?
I think you know, if you followed a little bit of what I was saying, you would have got some idea of the recent trends in literary research. One of the things that we don't do, or at least I don't encourage, or most of us, you know, don't encourage in literary research these days, is author-based research. So taking up a particular author and writing and select novels or select short stories of a particular author, this kind of research is not much encouraged. We take up issues or problems. So what we call as research problems. We take up research problems and then see what kind of literary text is suitable, text or texts are suitable for addressing that problem. So the literary source that we choose is dependent upon the problem. Very often, you know, I see students going the other way, first starting with the literary text and then trying to look for a problem, not finding it, you know, turning upside down, trying to find a problem. That's not the way of going about it. After all, the source of literature, I mean, the literary text is only a source. It's what is called a source material for you, right? So if you are doing a text-based study, then use that literary text as source material for addressing the problem that you may want to investigate as part of your research. I would also encourage you to look beyond the text, right? So today, literary studies, the area of literary studies is expanding very, very widely and vastly. Now, you can study, for instance, you can research on not just the text, you can do readership studies. So there is nothing to prevent you not from just looking at the text, but from looking at the readership. There are wonderful studies, you know, which have come on readership by looking at library, you know, I mean, data that comes, readership data that comes from library. So within the colonial, during the colonial period, what kind of novels or authors did people read? Okay, where will you find material for that? So library, public library data, you know, is one source that a researcher may be using to look at readership patterns. So we need not think that literary studies has to be restricted to just the literary text. You know, as someone from who is interested in film studies and who does research in film studies, I would encourage, you know, many of you to look at, for instance, the relationship between literary text and cinematic text, the process of transformation of a literary text into, let's say, a film. So the process that it undergoes, that is, it may be there in the form of a short story first, then it may become a script, it gets rewritten as a screenplay, and then finally it appears on screen. There is nothing to prevent us who is all of us who are now doing research in literary studies from learning some of these new kinds of skills that are necessary for us to become good researchers in literary studies. So this old way of just looking at one literary text or one author and doing research on 4 texts, 3 texts of that author, very often those who have selected those 3 texts or 4 texts will not even give a rationale as to why only those 3 texts have been looked at or whatever. That for me is not research. It may be at best criticism that you are writing of a particular author, literary criticism. But literary research is very, very different from doing literary criticism, I would think.
Thank you, madam. Thanks. Our participants are really happy and they're expressing their compliments through the chat box. And one more participant asked the question, isn't there a need to focus on latest research published in highly reputed journals such as Scopus indexed journals?
Yeah. There is need to look at recent research, certainly. But whether they should be Scopus indexed journals, UGC approved journals, I mean, this is debatable because some of the most interesting work need not even get published in any of these Scopus indexed journals. They could be part of book chapters, right? So it is a myth if we think that cutting edge research is only what comes in Scopus indexed journals. I'm saying we need to look at all kinds of work which have appeared in your area, in your chosen area of research, whether it's come with ISBN number, ISSN number, Scopus index, UGC approved, it really does not matter. But it is important for you as a researcher to be discriminatory, to use your discretion to say which research is convincing, which research is thorough, which research supports what it is doing with evidence, and which research has been much used or discussed. So generally, one of the ways in which I tell my students to look at the value of a work, I tell them, see if they're at the beginning stage of their research, see if other people in this area are talking about them, are writing them, are writing about them, or referencing them in their articles. Then it's very important for you to go back and read that book in order to see what they're saying, because so many people seem to be talking about this particular book. So it's important for you to go back. So I wouldn't give excessive or undue weightage to just one kind of material, but as you do research, you will realize how to sift good research published wherever. So it could be published in a very homegrown journal right near you. So maybe for promotions, this may be a criteria, but a good researcher is not someone who will just say, I will look at Scopus index journals and nothing else. That would be the point I'm making, I think.
Thank you, madam. And one of the participants has asked the question, what are the database to be used for literature review in English literature? Is only Google Scholar enough?
Yeah, really it depends upon your area of research. There are many kinds of, if you go to a reference section of any good library, you will find many bibliographic indexes and sources, which would be the starting point of your research. So in that sense, depending upon your area of research, you may find a number of bibliographic indexes and sources. If you're, let's say, working on American literature, or you want to work on post-colonial, literature in the area of post-colonial studies or whatever. With respect to Google Scholar, it's a first starting point. Just as I would advise my students to look at the dissertations that are there in the InflibNet portal, UGC InflibNet portal. So that is also a kind of indication as to what kind of work has happened in various Indian universities, to begin with. So like that, Google Scholar is a good starting point. But as you go on, when you want something, information which is more specific, then you may have to go for bibliographic indexes which are more specific. For instance, since I research in the area these days of cinema a great deal, one of the sources that I may look at with respect to cinema might be IMDb, the internet database, movie database, or I may look at a website called cine.ma, which has a whole host of films as well as material related to Indian cinema, in that particular place. Or a more general database on Kannada cinema, I may look at, I think it's called Cinema Info or Kannada Cinema Info, I think. So I begin doing my research on a particular area by looking at, very non-specialist, may not be always something that specialists have put together, but non-specialists may have put some of these databases together before I zoom in on what is necessary, the particular bibliographic index or list, if it is already prepared in my area. So that is how we go about it.
Thank you, madam. One more question. Can this be just issue-based, or is it very essential to have a theoretical approach, like construction, etc.?
I think it's a good question. I think when I say issue, that we pick up an issue, obviously the aim of research, I mentioned it right at the beginning. The aim of research is to put forth a thesis. The thesis is in the form of a theory we propose, a theory that is backed by evidence. So in order to propose that theory, we are engaging with existing theories on a particular topic, on our particular topic. So it is very important for us to engage with theories. Now, what do I mean by theories? And I'm saying it in plural because I don't think, a good researcher or a good research is one which takes a theory that is already there. Okay, Foucault proposed this theory of power. Now, he has proposed this theory. I will now apply this theory to the text that I have. Or Derrida has proposed this theory. I will apply. Now, that kind of research for me is not so good. It is inferior research. If they have arrived at a theory, whether it is Derrida or Foucault or any of the feminist scholars like Judith Butler, if they have arrived at a theory on their own, if I am just going to take that theory and apply it in my context, you are just replicating what they have already done, and done far better than you will ever be able to do. So that for me is application rather than research, right? So we don't take a theory, a given theory that is there, and simply apply it to text. We construct a theoretical framework, right? So when I tell my students students, I tell them you have to work on the theoretical framework for your study. So you have to take a set of theories and prepare the framework for your research. So it's not just taking something that is given and applying it. You are actually, preparing a framework within which you place your study, vis-a-vis which you conduct your study and come out with a fresh theory with respect to these existing theories. So it's a very dynamic process. It's not just a passive process of take what is there and apply it here, but a dynamic process where you are shaping the theoretical tools required for your study, right? So it is not taking a theory and applying it, it is shaping the tools and concepts required for your study, for your research.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much, madam. All the participants were, they were very happy, and they were posted so many compliments, and really happy, extremely happy they were. And you have given a neat and a detailed explanation of research methodology in English literature. Now I request our Yashoda madam to give away the vote of thanks.
Very good afternoon to all. Professor Nikhila madam has spoken in detail and different aspects with respect to review of literature. I hope participants have gained much information on the topic review of literature. Further, madam has answered for the questions asked by the participants. Madam, thank you so much, madam. You have given a wonderful session on the topic review of literature. And thank you, participants. Again, the next session, it will start at 1 o'clock.